found out I wasn't me on a Tuesday morning, standing in my dead mother's closet, holding a birth certificate with the wrong name on it. Wait, let me back up because you need to understand something first. My whole life, people told me I didn't look like my family. I laughed it off. I mean, genetics are weird, right? But that morning, 3 days after Mum's funeral, when I opened that old shoebox hidden behind her winter coats, I found proof that I wasn't who I thought I was. And somewhere out there, a girl was living the life that should have been mine. My name is Riley. At least, that's what I've always been called. I'm 23, and until that Tuesday, I thought I knew exactly who I was. I grew up in a small apartment in Brooklyn with my mom, Sarah, who worked 2 jobs just to keep us fed. We didn't have much. Birthdays meant cupcakes from the corner store, not parties. Christmas was one gift, wrapped in newspaper. But Mum loved me. I never doubted that. She died from a stroke, fast. 1 minute she was laughing at some show on TV, the next minute she was on the floor. The doctors said she was gone before the ambulance arrived. I held her hand in that hospital room and felt my whole world crack open. Hey friends, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to comment where you are watching from. Someone close to you might be watching too. Like, share, subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss a story. Make sure to watch till the very end, because the final twist is something you definitely don't want to miss. So let's continue. Mom's funeral was small. Just me, a few neighbors and her boss from the diner. Afterward, I went back to our apartment, where everything still smelled like her perfume. Cheap jasmine from the drugstore. I couldn't sleep in my own room. It felt wrong, like I was trespassing in my own life. So I wandered into her closet at 2 in the morning looking for something that still felt like her. That's when I found the box. Inside were papers, old hospital documents, and 2 birth certificates. One had my name, Riley Brooks, born March 15th at St. Mary's Hospital in Manhattan. Mother, Sarah Brooks. Father, unknown. The other certificate was for a girl named Sienna Ashford, born the same day, same hospital, same time, 2:47 a.m. Mother, Catherine Ashford. I stared at that name, Catherine Ashford. I knew that name. Everyone in New York knew that name. The Ashfords owned half the buildings in Manhattan. They had their faces on magazine covers, their names on museum wings. Catherine Ashford was practically royalty. But why did my mum have this girl's birth certificate? My hand started shaking as I dug deeper into the box. There were newspaper clippings about the Ashford family, photos of Catherine and her husband Charles holding twin baby girls at some fancy event. The caption read, "The Ashford twins make their debut. Twins." My stomach dropped. There was a letter at the bottom of the box, folded in half, the paper soft and worn like it had been read 1,000 times. My mum's handwriting. "To whoever finds this, I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I was working at St. Mary's that night, cleaning the maternity ward. The babies got mixed up during a power outage. By the time anyone realized, it was too late. One of the Ashford twins went home with Catherine. The other went home with a young mother who left the hospital before anyone could stop her. That mother was me. I didn't plan to keep her. I was going to bring her back. But when I looked at her little face, I couldn't do it. I told myself she'd have a better life with me. A real life, not some cold mansion where money matters more than love. If you're reading this, I'm probably gone. And Riley deserves to know the truth. I'm sorry. The letter fell from my hands. I sat on the floor of that closet for hours, trying to breathe, trying to make sense of it. I wasn't Riley Brooks, I was Sienna Ashford. And somewhere in Manhattan, in some giant penthouse, a girl who thought she was Sienna was actually Riley. We'd been switched at birth. And my mom, the only mother I'd ever known, had stolen me. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that birth certificate, that name, Sienna Ashford. By morning, I'd made a decision. I had to know. I had to see her, the girl who'd been living my life. I spent the next 2 days digging through everything I could find online about the Ashford family. Sienna Ashford was everywhere. She was in tabloids, at charity galas, on yachts in the Mediterranean. She wore designer clothes and dated actors. Her Instagram had 2 million followers. She looked nothing like me. Blonde hair, pale skin, sharp cheekbones. I had dark, curly hair, brown skin, a round face. We didn't even look like we came from the same planet, let alone the same womb. But we were born minutes apart. The more I looked at her photos, the more I noticed something strange. In every picture, she looked empty, like she was going through the motions. Her smile never reached her eyes. There were photos of her at fancy restaurants, but she always looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. In one photo from a beach in Greece, she stood alone on the sand while everyone else partied behind her. She looked lonely. I found out she was in New York that week, attending some art gallery opening in Chelsea. The event was public. I could get in if I tried. So I did. I borrowed a black dress from my neighbor, pulled my hair back, and walked into that gallery like I belonged there. The room was full of people in clothes that cost more than my rent. Champagne flowed. Everyone was laughing, talking, pretending to care about the giant paintings on the walls. I felt sick. This was supposed to be my world. These people were supposed to be my people, but I felt like an alien. And then I saw her. Sienna Ashford stood near the back of the room, holding a glass of champagne and looking bored. She was tall, elegant, untouchable. A man in a suit stood beside her, her father, I guessed. Charles Ashford. He had the same cold, sharp look as her. They weren't talking. They just stood there, side by side, like strangers forced to share the same space. I couldn't move. I just stared. She glanced up, and for a split second our eyes met. She looked right through me. I felt a pain in my chest so sharp I thought I might collapse. This girl, this stranger, had lived in a world I was supposed to be part of. She had the name, the money, the family, and I'd had nothing. I'd watched my mom work herself to death while Sienna went to boarding schools in Switzerland. I wanted to hate her, but I didn't, because she didn't know either. She was a victim too. I turned to leave, but someone grabbed my arm. "Excuse me," a voice said. I froze. It was her, Sienna. Up close, she looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red-rimmed and there was a bruise on her wrist that her bracelet didn't quite cover. "Do I know you?" she asked. "No," I said quickly. Wrong person." But she didn't let go. She stared at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Her grip tightened. "You look familiar," she said softly. "Have we met before?" "I don't think so." "What's your name?" I panicked. "Riley." Something flickered across her face. Confusion. Fear. "Riley," she repeated. "That's a pretty name." I pulled my arm away. "I have to go." And I ran. I thought that would be the end of it. I'd seen her. I knew she existed. That was enough. But the next day, she found me. I was sitting in a coffee shop near my apartment when she walked in, still wearing clothes that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. She sat down across from me without asking. "I know who you are," she said. My heart stopped. "I hired a private investigator," she continued. "After I saw you last night, something felt wrong. I couldn't stop thinking about your face, so I had someone look into you, and guess what they found?" She slid a folder across the table. Inside were copies of the same documents I'd found. The birth certificates, the letter, everything. "We were switched," she said, her voice shaking. "You're supposed to be me, and I'm supposed to be you." I couldn't speak. She leaned forward, her eyes filling with tears. "Do you know what that means? My entire life is a lie. My parents aren't my parents, my name isn't even my name. Everything I thought I knew about myself is fake." "Mine too," I whispered. We sat there in silence. Two strangers who should have been sisters. "What do we do?" she finally asked. I didn't have an answer. She wiped her eyes and let out a bitter laugh. I always felt like something was wrong, like I didn't fit. My parents, Catherine and Charles, they always treated me like I was broken, like there was something wrong with me that they couldn't fix. Now I know why. I wasn't theirs. "My mum loved me," I said quietly. "Even though she shouldn't have taken me, she loved me." Sienna looked at me with something like hunger. "What was that like, being loved?" The question broke my heart. Over the next few weeks, Sienna and I met in secret. We traded stories about our lives, trying to piece together what had been stolen from us. She told me about growing up in the Ashford mansion, about the nannies who raised her while Catherine worked, about the boarding schools where she learned to be perfect, about the constant pressure to smile for cameras, to say the right things, to be the perfect daughter. I was never good enough, she said one afternoon. We were sitting in Central Park, watching kids play on the playground. No matter what I did, it was never enough. Catherine would look at me like I was a disappointment. Charles barely looked at me at all. Did they hit you? I asked, remembering the bruise on her wrist. She hesitated. Catherine gets angry sometimes. When I don't do what she wants, it's not that bad. That's still bad, I said. She shrugged. I thought every family was like that. Cold, distant, cruel. I told her about my mom, about the way she used to sing while cooking, even though she was always tired, about how we'd watch old movies together on Friday nights, sharing a bowl of popcorn, about the time she worked 3 shifts in a row just so she could buy me a winter coat. We didn't have money, I said, but we had each other, and that was enough. Sienna looked at me with tears in her eyes. I would have traded everything for that. All the money, all the fancy clothes, all of it. Just to have someone look at me the way your mum looked at you. We sat in silence for a long time, and then she asked the question I'd been dreading. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't been switched? If we'd grown up in each other's places? I'd thought about it a lot. All the time. Would I be different? She asked. Would I be warm like you? Would I know how to love people? Would I be cold like you? I countered. Would I be scared to let people in? She flinched. I'm not cold. I'm just careful. I know, I said. I didn't mean it like that. But the question hung between us. Who were we really? Were we the people our environments had made us? Or was there something deeper inside us that stayed the same no matter what? Sienna looked at the kids on the playground. I want to tell them, Catherine and Charles. I want them to know the truth. Are you sure? I asked. This could destroy your family. She laughed bitterly. My family is already destroyed. They just don't know it yet. I understood. She needed answers. She needed to know why Catherine had treated her so badly, why Charles had ignored her. Maybe if they knew she wasn't really their daughter, it would explain everything. Okay, I said, let's do it. We planned it carefully. We'd go to the Ashford mansion together, we'd show them the evidence, we'd demand answers. But I was scared. What if they didn't believe us? What if they got angry? What if they tried to hurt Sienna? The night before we were supposed to go, Sienna called me in tears. I can't do this, she sobbed. I'm not strong enough. Yes, you are, I told her. And you're not doing it alone. I'll be right there with you. What if they hate me? They already hate you, I said gently. This won't change that, but at least you'll know the truth. She was quiet for a long time. Will you stay with me after we tell them? Of course. Promise? I promise. The Ashford mansion was even bigger than I'd imagined. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, paintings that probably belonged in museums. A butler opened the door and led us to a sitting room where Catherine was waiting. She looked exactly like her photos. Cold, beautiful, untouchable. But when she saw me, something flickered in her eyes. Recognition. Fear. So you found out, she said calmly. Sienna's hands balled into fists. You knew? Catherine poured herself a drink from a crystal decanter. I've known for years. The room went silent. What? I breathed. She took a sip of her drink and sat down in a velvet chair. About 5 years ago, I started to suspect something was wrong. Sienna didn't look like anyone in our family. She didn't act like us either, too soft, too emotional. So I did a DNA test without telling anyone. When the results came back, I knew she wasn't mine. And you didn't say anything? Sienna's voice cracked. What was I supposed to say? Catherine snapped. That I'd raised someone else's child for 18 years? That somewhere out there my real daughter was living in poverty? She looked at me with cold eyes. I hired investigators. I found you. I watched you for months. I saw how you lived. That tiny apartment, that dead-end job, your mother struggling to feed you. You watched me. I felt sick. I needed to know what kind of person you were, Catherine said, whether you were worth bringing into this family. And, I challenged. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You weren't. You were poor, uneducated. You had no manners, no grace, no understanding of how to exist in our world, so I decided to leave things as they were. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. You let me grow up thinking I was your daughter, Sienna said, tears streaming down her face. You let me suffer through all those years of feeling like I didn't belong, and you knew why. You knew I wasn't yours, and you punished me for it anyway. Catherine's mask cracked for just a second. I did what I had to do. You hit me, Sienna whispered. You made me feel like I was nothing, and the whole time you knew I wasn't even yours. I was trying to make you better, Catherine said coldly, to fix whatever was wrong with you, but nothing worked. You were always too weak, too needy, too much like her. She gestured at me with disgust. I stood up. We're leaving. Sit down, Catherine commanded. No. You don't understand, she said. There's more to this story. More you need to know. We don't want to hear it, Sienna said, but Catherine kept talking. I couldn't bring you back, she said to me, not just because you were poor, but because of what your father did. I froze. My father? Our father, Sienna corrected quietly. Catherine's face went dark. Charles Ashford, your biological father, the man whose blood you both share. What about him? I demanded. She hesitated for the first time, and then she said the words that changed everything. He's the one who switched you. The room started spinning. What? Sienna breathed. Catherine set down her drink with a shaking hand. That night at the hospital, there was no power outage. There was no accident. Charles switched you on purpose. Why? I couldn't process what she was saying. Because he wanted to keep the perfect one, Catherine said, looking at Sienna with something like regret. When you were born, he took one look at both of you and decided. One baby had lighter skin, lighter hair. The other didn't. He wanted a daughter who looked like him, who looked like our family. So he paid the nurse, your mother, Sarah, to take the other baby and disappear. My legs gave out. I sat down hard. He paid her? I whispered. $50,000, Catherine said. Enough to disappear and never come back. But there was a problem. Charles grabbed the wrong baby in the chaos. He brought home the one he didn't want. And by the time he realized his mistake, Sarah was gone. Sienna made a sound like a wounded animal. So you raised me knowing I was the wrong one, she said. Knowing I was the baby he tried to get rid of. Yes. And you punished me for it. I tried to make you into what he wanted, Catherine said, but you never could be, because you weren't ours. I felt rage building inside me. Where is he? Charles? Catherine's face went pale. He's dead. He died 3 months ago. That's why I'm telling you this now. It's finally safe. Safe from what? I demanded. From the truth coming out, she said. Charles built this family on lies. The money, the power, all of it came from illegal deals, money laundering, fraud, worse things I don't even know about. If anyone found out you two were switched, if anyone started digging, they would have found everything. Our family would have been destroyed. You both would have been in danger. So you kept us in the dark, Sienna said coldly. You let me suffer. You let her grow up poor, all to protect your precious reputation. I kept you alive, Catherine shot back. Charles had people killed for less. If he'd known Sarah kept that baby, if he'd known she had evidence, he would have had her killed. And you, she looked at me, would have died with her. The room was silent except for the sound of Sienna crying. My mom knew, I said slowly. That's why she never came back. She was protecting me. Yes, Catherine said. She was smarter than I gave her credit for. I stood up again. We're leaving, and we're never coming back. Wait, Catherine said. There's something else you need to know. We don't want anything from you, Sienna said. It's not from me, Catherine said. It's from Sarah. She left something for you. Both of you. She pulled out a small envelope from her desk drawer. This arrived at my office last week. Her lawyer sent it. It was supposed to be delivered after her death. I took the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a letter in my mom's handwriting. Dear Riley and Sienna, if you're reading this, you know the truth. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I took you, Riley. I'm sorry I kept you from your sister. I'm sorry I stayed silent for so long, but I'm not sorry I loved you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. You made my life mean something. Sienna, I never got to meet you, but I thought about you every day. I wondered what kind of person you were becoming, whether you were happy, whether someone was loving you the way you deserved. I know the Ashfords will tell you terrible things about me, and some of them are true. I made a terrible choice that night, but I did it because I was scared. Charles Ashford was a dangerous man. He told me what he was planning to do, to hide his daughter because she didn't look the way he wanted. He was going to give her to someone else. Maybe someone who would hurt her. Maybe someone who would make her disappear forever. So I took her instead, and I ran. I kept the documents as insurance. I thought if he ever came after me, I could use them to protect us. But he never did. He let me go. Maybe because he knew I had the evidence. Maybe because he didn't care. I raised Riley with all the love I had. I tried to give her everything she needed, but I always knew this day would come. I always knew you'd find out. So here's what I want you to know. You are sisters, you share blood, you share a history, and you deserve to know each other. To love each other. To build something better than what was taken from you. Don't let their lies destroy you. Don't let their secrets poison who you are. You get to decide what happens next. Not them. I love you both. Sarah. We stood there, holding the letter, crying together. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I understood something important. My mum hadn't stolen me. She'd saved me. Sienna and I left the mansion that night not knowing what to do. We sat in my tiny apartment, staring at each other. I don't know how to do this, Sienna said. I don't know how to be your sister. I don't know how to be anything. Me neither, I admitted. We sat in silence for a long time. I keep thinking about what my mom, our mom, wrote, I said, about how we get to decide what happens next. What do you want to happen? Sienna asked. I thought about it. I want to know you, the real you, not the person Catherine tried to make you, not the perfect daughter Charles wanted, just you. Sienna's eyes filled with tears again. I don't know who that is. Then we'll figure it out together. She looked at me with something like hope. You really want me in your life? Even after everything? You're my sister, I said simply. That's all that matters. For the first time since we'd met, she smiled a real smile. The next few months were hard. Sienna moved out of the Ashford mansion and into a small apartment near mine. Catherine tried to stop her, threatened to cut her off completely, but Sienna didn't care anymore. She'd spent her whole life trying to please people who would never love her. She was done. She got a job at a bookstore. It didn't pay much, but she loved it. She'd come home with stories about customers, about books she'd discovered, about conversations she'd had. She was learning how to be a normal person, how to exist without the weight of the Ashford name crushing her. I helped her through the panic attacks that came at night, the moments when she'd wake up terrified, convinced Catherine was going to come for her. The days when she couldn't get out of bed because the weight of everything was too much. And she helped me too. She helped me grieve for my mum, for the woman who'd sacrificed everything to keep me safe. We'd visit her grave together, bringing flowers and telling her stories about what we were learning about each other. Slowly, we started to heal. We discovered we both loved old movies. We'd watch them together on Friday nights, the way I used to with my mum. We learned we both hated mornings, but loved thunderstorms. We found out we had the same laugh when something really funny happened. We were different in a lot of ways. Sienna was quieter, more careful with her words. I was louder, more impulsive. But somehow, we fit. One night, about 6 months after we'd found out the truth, Sienna turned to me and said, "I'm glad it happened." "What?" "The switch," she said. "I know that's terrible. I know we both lost so much. But if it hadn't happened, I never would have met you. And you're the best thing in my life." I felt tears in my eyes. "You're the best thing in mine too." We sat there on my couch, two sisters who'd found each other against all odds, and I realized something. We'd both been given terrible hands, we'd both been lied to, betrayed, used, but we'd survived, and we'd found each other. That was worth something. That was worth everything. A year after we discovered the truth, Catherine reached out. She wanted to meet, to talk. Sienna didn't want to go. "She'll just hurt me again," she said. "Then I'll be there to protect you," I promised. We met her at a restaurant in Manhattan. She looked older, tired. The perfect mask she always wore had cracks in it. "I'm sorry," she said. We didn't respond. "I know that doesn't mean anything," she continued. "I know I can't undo what I did, but I need you to know that I am sorry, for all of it." "Why now?" Sienna asked coldly. "Because I'm alone," Catherine said simply. "Charles is dead. You're gone. I spent my whole life building this perfect image, this perfect family. And now I have nothing, no one. I look at my life and I see how empty it is, how wrong I was about everything." "You were cruel to me," Sienna said. "You made me feel like I was worthless." "I know. You knew I wasn't yours and you punished me for it anyway." "I know." "Why?" Catherine's voice broke. "Because I was angry. Because Charles chose you over me. He spent 23 years obsessed with finding his perfect daughter, the one who looked right, the one he'd lost. And I raised you instead. Every time I looked at you, I saw his rejection. So, I took it out on you. And that was wrong. So terribly wrong." Sienna was crying now. "I needed a mother, and you couldn't even pretend to love me." "I didn't know how," Catherine whispered. "My mother didn't love me either. I thought that's just how it was, how it had to be." "It doesn't," I said quietly. "My mom loved me every single day, even when things were hard, even when she was exhausted. She chose love. You chose cruelty." Catherine nodded. "You're right. And I have to live with that now. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that if there's anything I can do to make it right, I will." Sienna looked at her for a long time. "There's nothing you can do. But I forgive you. Not for you. For me. Because I don't want to carry this anger anymore. It's too heavy." Catherine started crying. "But that doesn't mean we're going to have a relationship," Sienna continued. "You lost that chance. We're done." We got up to leave. "Wait," Catherine said. "There's something you should have." She pulled out a folder. Charles had a life insurance policy and a trust fund, money he set aside for his daughters, his real daughters. I had the lawyers draw up papers. "It's yours, all of it. $20 million, split between you." Sienna and I looked at each other. "We don't want it," Sienna said. "It's yours," Catherine insisted. "It's the only good thing Charles ever did. Please, take it. Use it to build the life he tried to take from you." We took the folder, not because we needed the money, but because Catherine was right. It was ours. And we could use it to do something good, something real. Sienna and I used the money to start a foundation. We called it Sarah's Light, after the woman who'd saved me. The foundation helped kids who were stuck in bad situations, kids with parents who didn't love them, kids who needed someone to believe in them. We gave them what we'd needed most: hope, support, a chance to be themselves. Sienna ran the foundation. It turned out she was amazing at it. She understood those kids because she'd been one of them, and she loved them in a way Catherine had never loved her. I went back to school, got a degree in social work, started helping families navigate the system. We built something beautiful together, something that mattered. Sometimes I thought about what my mum had written in that letter, about how we got to decide what happened next. She was right. We couldn't change the past. We couldn't undo the switch or the lies or the years of pain. But we could choose how we moved forward. We could choose love over anger, healing over revenge, hope over despair. And that made all the difference. 5 years after we found out the truth, Sienna and I stood on the roof of the building where Sarah's Light had its offices. The same city where we'd been born, where we'd been separated, where we'd found each other again. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd never been switched?" Sienna asked. It was the same question she'd asked 5 years ago, but this time the answer was different. No, I said honestly. Because I wouldn't trade what we have now. This, us. She smiled. Me neither. We stood there in silence, two sisters who'd been torn apart by a lie and brought back together by the truth. And I thought about my mom, both of them. Sarah, who'd raised me with nothing but love, and Catherine, who'd finally learned what love cost. I thought about Charles, the man whose cruelty had set all of this in motion. He'd wanted the perfect daughter, the one who looked right, who acted right, who fit his image of what his child should be. But he'd been wrong about everything, because perfect doesn't exist. Family isn't about blood or money or appearances. It's about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when everything falls apart. Sienna and I had each other. We had Sarah's memory. We had the foundation. We had the kids we helped every day. We had everything that mattered, and no amount of money or power or lies could take that away from us. We'd both been given terrible starts, stolen from our real lives, raised by people who didn't understand love. But we'd survived, and we'd found something better than the life we were supposed to have. We'd found each other, and that was the greatest gift of all. Because in the end, it doesn't matter whose life you're living. It doesn't matter who you were supposed to be. What matters is who you choose to become, and who you choose to love. Sienna and I chose each other, every single day, and that made us more than sisters. It made us family, the real kind, the kind that lasts, the kind that can't be switched or stolen or broken, the kind built on truth and love and the decision to show up no matter what. That was our story, not the one we were given, but the one we wrote ourselves. And it was beautiful. Dear friends, what you just saw is only one part of the bigger picture. In the next video, I'll reveal the twist no one saw coming, so make sure you're here when it drops. I would love to know what you would have done in this situation. Drop your thoughts below. I'll be reading every single comment. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much, and don't forget to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button and share with someone who needs to hear it.